So we have understood about instance method and what happens when we define a method below the constructor and how do you access the instance variables which we have declared in the constructor, right? Now, before going into the next method, which are class methods, because generally class methods act on only class level and basically they act on the class variables. Because what are class variables? Generally they are declared inside the class, but they are always outside of any instance method. The best advantage of Python is Python's object model easily distinguishes between your instance method, class methods by taking understanding of instance variables and class variables. But it is very important to understand what you are declaring, because in class method if you clearly see we are using a decorator, because at the rate symbol is only allowed for the decorators which carry out some special meaning depending on the type of class variable we declare. And always remember, when we are going for class methods, the first parameter we refer as CLS. Why should I use CLS? You can use anything, but for constructor we have already used self, right? Because it is trying to give the address of every method. In the same way, for class methods we use CLS. Okay, it is simple, but before understanding about class method, we need to clearly differentiate what made class variables and instance variables differ. Because generally class variables are declared inside the class and they are accessible to the entire class. They are not bounded to any instance. But general instance variables are bounded or tied to particular object instance, something like we have seen name, age, marks, which are in the constructor in the previous example. But to differentiate it, let's go to our practice, right? So let me continue from where we have left in the previous. So we have just done this example, so I just wanted to ignore this. So I'll just keep everything by triple quotes. So first let's understand about the class variables, as these class variables are always declared inside the class definition. That is very important. When I say declared, in the sense you write a variable below the class name itself. And the best thing is these are not bounded to any other instances, but outside the instance, but outside of any instance methods. That is very important consideration that we should remember every time, because they are not tied to any particular instance of a class. They store the content on the class itself. Once you modify the class variable, it's gone. That's where the changes we will try to understand, because when we go for instance variables, they are always tied to particular object instance. Instance variables are always tied to particular object instance. The main reason we are discussing in class methods is I'll try to differentiate the difference between a class variable and instance variable. Then you'll understand how does this decorator class method will be used. Particular object instance. So for that, I'll take a very general example. If you are a fond of dog lover, I'll just take the example of dog example, because generally object-oriented programming tutorials or whenever I work, generally I try to demonstrate with some real life examples, because objects are real life things, right? So let's take a class of dog, right? Because generally I define my class name as dog, and generally what happens, dog has 4 legs, right? Obviously that is simple thing. So demo of class and instance variables, because by the end of the code you'll understand what made it both differ. Because generally what does dog will have? Every dog will have 4 legs only, right? It's very silly to ask, but generally make it simple. Number of legs is equal to 4. This is our class variable, because we are declaring inside the class only. Now let me write a constructor special method, because whenever I say special method, that is called constructor. I define, because I want to give the name for my dog, whether it can be German Shepherd or Labrador or Pug, whatever it is, it's up to you. You can give your own name, but the address will be carried by self. So self comma name, and give your dog name. Self dot name is equal to, instead of giving it here, I'll take by initializing the object. So this is generally called instance variable, because it is bounded to this special method. Fine. So now where you know how to initialize the object, just go for it. I'll just try to give, I'll save this and I'll execute. So first I'll give my dog name as Jack. So object is Jack. So dog of, it expects obviously name. My dog name is Jack. Now when you ask directory of Jack, obviously it will throw you whatever we have declared in it. The number of legs are and name. Let's prove it. When I give Jack dot name, it should give you obviously Jack name itself, and Jack dot how many number of legs we have defined. The number of legs will be same for the entire class objects. See, it's 4. Let's take another object. The object is Jill. I want to take dog of, just throw the name as Jill, and same when you go for Jill dot, you can get name, and what first if you give name you get the name itself. It is simple. And Jill dot, you want to see number of legs, the number of legs should be same. There you go. It's simple, right? When you give Jack dot name, it is same. Jack dot Jill, Jill dot name. These are names. I'm just giving the variable name, and my dog name is also Jack. It's up to you. But now if you try to give dog, if you give dog dot name, it's an attribute error, right? So you cannot, because dog is your class and you're not defining anything over there. But make sure, as I made number of legs as class variable, you can clearly see the number of legs is class variable. You can directly access from class. Is it possible? Let me check. When I give dog dot, you see only number of legs. Very good. You got number of legs as 4, right? That is our first inference. Now what I'll try to do is, I try to modify my number of legs for the dogs. If I try to modify my number of legs, that means your dog is growing stronger. But it's not happens, number of legs will be increased. For the funny side, I am giving number of legs as 6. Okay, I will try to check what happened to my Jack. Jack dot name is Jack only. Let me see. Jack dot, I'll see. I can think number of legs as 4 only. No, it has become 6. Why? You have modified the class variable. Automatically, even you check for Jill also, the result will be same. It is 6. That's where never ever modify the class variable. If you wanted to just modify for particular instance or for particular object, just take that object only. See, again I am getting back my number of legs for the dogs as 4. There you go. So if you want to modify for Jill only, just modify for Jill itself. Don't touch the another dog, right? Now you see Jill dot number of legs will be 6 because you have directly modified Jill dot number of legs as 6. But for Jack it is same because you are not modifying the class variable. You have modified only the object. You have only modified whatever instance you have created. So never ever modify it. That's where you have the difference with the class variable and instance variable. I try to print in a single line, which will be easy for you. Dog dot number of legs, Jill dot number of legs, and Jack dot number of legs. Because for Jill we have modified, there you go, that is 6. That's where you have the difference between class variable and instance variable, right? So now let's go over the same logic, because the variable declared inside the class is class variable and you can use it anywhere. Now with the same logic, I would like to write a same program but using our decorator, which is @class method. Now we have done with animal dog, right? Now let's go for bird, understanding class method, because generally birds will have 2 wings, right? 2 wings, and let's take it as 2 legs. So I'll write my class name as bird because I want to use the decorator. So I'll just give this is class variable because I want to define my number of wings as 2 the same way. But what I do is I'll make my special method by using a decorator, that is class method. So this is a class method. In the previous example we have created instance method, right? Now I want to make it a special method by giving decorator, that is @class method. Make sure you write it combined, don't give space. You can see when you give space the color changes. Class is a keyword, method is a name. So always make the decorator as same. Now write your own method. I want to define or display how does birds will fly. Here, what is your first argument should be? It should be always CLS, and you wanted to give names for your birds, then it automatically fetches the result. Even if you want to give self, you can do it, but you should differentiate between the instance method and class method, right? That is the reason I am trying to give it. Now, I should take name from the user, so I will take dash flies with double underscore wings. So, now I am going for the format method dot format of, what you should give here? You should give name, and you cannot give wings here. What happens if you give wings? I will see. I will make you understand. Now execute this, create an object in the shell. You just give a is equal to bird of, it expects. Is it expecting any name? No, right? Again, if you give like pigeon, Pigeon, there you go. Bird takes no arguments, because you should give with the method. What is the method? The method is fly method. So bird dot fly of, give the name here. Okay, you are expecting, you are getting the result, but you see name wings is not defined. How it is defined? Because it is a class variable, so you cannot access here directly, but you should give it as CLS dot wings. That's how it carries the address of it. There you go. Now execute the same result. Whether you give a is equal to bird or anything, whether you take it from this, you ask directory of a, you get fly and wings, because when you give a dot wings, you get the count as 2, and you want to go for a dot fly. Now pass the bird name here. First bird is pigeon. There you go. Pigeon flies with 2 wings. Clearly, automatically the number 2, the class dot wings, it is fetching the result. Okay, what happens if I give a CLF? No issues. Always make mistakes and learn from mistakes. Save, execute it, directly go for a dot fly, or first make sure give directive call with the class. You can do it. Bird dot fly of, it is expecting. Now I want to give sparrow. There you go. You can give, because self, class, any variable name, but make sure you are taking the class variable into this class method. So whenever you are writing class method, the better thing is write CLS as the first argument to carry the address of it. That's where class dot variable is a format to refer to the class variable. Just make sure you note that it is a format to refer to class variable. Format to refer to class variable. Because when you are comfortable in writing class variables and static variables, it will be easy when you write your own program and you can just extend the same logic. You can only give one variable? No, it's up to you. Now I want to include legs also. Wings dot legs is equal to 2, 4. But make sure you pass here one more argument. Bird flies with dash wings and dash legs. The same way include CLS dot legs. There you go. Now instead of going to the shell, I want to declare in the program itself. So what do I do is, I just create, I want to display information for both birds. I want to give 2 birds, not single bird. For 2 birds, I can create an object, or directly I can take the class. So bird dot, you can directly take bird dot fly. See, automatically you are getting the method bird dot fly of, I want to give pigeon for the first time. Save and execute. There you go. Pigeon flies with 2 wings and 4 legs. The same way you can define. It's up to you. Number of methods, it's up to you. How many number of times you declare and how many methods you write. You can have any number of class methods. It only depends on your logic and how you try to modify it, right? So here, if you wanted to use the same variables in the entire class level, directly use it and you can declare it. Sparrow flies with 2 wings and 4 legs. Pigeon flies with 2 wings and 4 legs. The same way, if you create an object, you can just see the directory of it and you can understand how does this class methods differ with instance methods and what made this CLS parameter to be understood or to be used in the entire class, because it is same as self, but here we are using a decorated red class. What happens if you remove this? You can observe that thing also. Clearly, first thing, when you see, ignore the comment, fly is missing one required positional argument name. See, it is even not fetching name because it is taking CLS, right? Okay, sir, you can remove this, and if you try to modify like this, you can clearly find the difference now. I'll save and I'll execute this. Name wings is not defined. How does it is referred? No, it will be never ever referred because we have made this class method as comment. So clearly you will get an error. So try modifying yourself and you'll understand the difference between the class method and instance method and what made this to be used in particular cases, because always remember class methods act on class level and these act on the class variables or static variables, which we'll be discussing the next. But make sure when you declare class method, the default first argument should be CLS, which refers to the class itself.